You know, we were thinking about this. We were talking about this the other day, and it's like you notice when you think about what factors do you look at when deciding to buy something? I mean, it could be in audio, but it could be in anything, right? And you notice that everyone's got kind of a different opinion on exactly what it is they think they should be, what it is they're looking for. You know, and since this is a headphone channel, audio channel, I guess we could kind of key in mostly on that, but I'm sure we're going to get sidetracked.
Seems likely.
Yeah.
The thing I find most interesting about this is, in my experience, I see people that say one thing and do another frequently, especially in high-end audio.
No doubt.
They say, this is what matters to me. And yet you look at the choices they made in the past and the choices they continue to make into the future, and they don't seem to align with the preferences that they vocalized, which is a little curious.
It tends to deal with it. I think the biggest word, the word that tends to come to mind is discount.
Well, that helps.
People choose based on discounts.
That helps account for compromises.
They know what the best choice is, but they don't care because they got a discount on the other choice. And that'll put you right in the merry-go-round.
Yeah. Some sales come in and you're like, well, I can't pass that on.
Yeah.
It's interesting how that works, because you could market something as $10,000, but actually sell it at $6,000, and to a select group of people, that's good value.
Yeah.
But if it was sold for $6,000 and it was marketed at $6,000, it'd be a totally different game. Yeah. Those same people that are interested in a bargain wouldn't buy it.
Yeah, that kind of game has been going on in a lot of retail. The furniture stores, I think, started it 100 years ago.
Yeah.
It's kind of trickled down to a lot of stuff.
It works for some people.
Yeah, it's an artificially inflated retail, and you know, it is what it is. I mean, people, I think over time they do figure out, as a group, they start to figure out what the real value is or something, and that's the issue, right? That takes time. And the early adopters are the ones that pay for that. Sometimes things are a cheap bargain compared to their price. And other times,
good value. Right?
Not so much, yeah. But a price aside, because that's always an argument that people use and for things, and it's a controversial subject. Price is in the eye of the beholder. What other things would we look at aside from price? I could say, pretend like I personally like looking at things and not knowing what the price is. You know. You could then kind of gauge what it's worth.
What you think it should be.
Yeah, right. Look at this going, you know, and then when you hear the price, you're either shocked or going, oh, that's good, or that's all right. I mean, and that's where I gauge things in terms of, you know, price. Is it worth it?
Yeah, we have a bit of a different perspective on things from that regard, though, because as a headphone manufacturer, we're typically not so concerned about the cost of electronics necessarily, because it's not like a consumer perspective where we're looking to acquire all these things for ourselves. Generally, when we're looking at new stuff, the question is this something we could recommend to someone else? Is this something we're going to say is a positive product you should go out and buy? So the value still needs to be there, of course, because whether or not people want to admit it, that's almost always number one priority. What's the cost? Can I afford it? Do I perceive value in that?
Nope. Well, number one, does it actually serve the purpose? Right? Would it work in this application?
That's inferred.
It needs to work.
It has to work. Yeah.
Right.
Does it work?
That's a good start.
What does it cost?
At any price.
Right.
Yeah.
That's always a pretty reasonable start. But I guess I could start with me. Personally, what do I look for in audio? I think I'm representative of a group of people, but a little on the edge in some senses. I usually look for the hows and the whys on how things are built. What does it look like? And now that's not like in an absolute sense of like the aesthetics per se. It's just more or less, does this look like a well-designed, well-thought-through product that was carefully considered? Because I find it to be frustrating in my everyday use when something has fatal flaws that make it difficult to live with. You see this a lot in very, very low-cost things. The product itself may be fine. It works great, no issues. But there's this one trivial thing that you can't fix that's frustrating to deal with. You know, the way this timer behaves, or the way it doesn't reset after this thing happens, or when you turn it on, it does this, and you need to hit this switch, or things that are just trivial and it would have taken 5 minutes for them to resolve and cost nothing.
That's true, and that kind of stuff kind of sucks because you only find out about it after you own it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's not in the owner's manual. I mean, you might be able to
read hard to know
reviews that might pick out some of this stuff if it's the same problem, if they have the similar issue you have. But a lot of times people don't know; they just think that's the way it works, and a
lot of times people don't think about it. But
yeah.
I'm very particular about how things operate most of the time. So these things bother me. I don't like dealing with things that are trivial to resolve from the manufacturer's perspective.
Well, that you think should have already been thought out.
Should have been thought through. Because it shows to me they weren't too concerned when they were manufacturing or designing this product. And if they're not concerned about something that's so dependent and so important to the usability, you got to imagine they're skipping other steps elsewhere.
Well, there are caveats to that. Like, first of all, that assumes that you know better than the manufacturer as to why they did what they did. Now, if it's a cost savings thing,
it's probably usually cost.
All right, then you got to look at it. Then once again, we're back to the value perspective. If you paid $2 for it, how the hell you think they made it for $2? They cut corners. Now, if you paid $1,000 for it, now you start saying, well, shit, this should have done that for me. I shouldn't have to worry about this. So you got to intertwine the two, right? And you also got to understand why they might have done it. And there might be other reasons, but from a technical standpoint, you're right. When you're looking at a technical product, and like you said, if it doesn't reset like after a power outage or something, it doesn't. You're right. That's stuff that should be like, you'd think it'd be automatic.
Yeah. Did they actually use their product before they sold it?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, in a home setting or
that's basically
in a real
what I'm
setting.
getting at.
Yeah.
Has this product actually been considered? Because you often enough see issues, and this is most common with knockoff products. It looks like the authentic product, but it does not function like it. Although it may be designed in a similar fashion, looks similar, the hardware is very similar, the software, the integration, the way the switches work, or something, whatever, it depends on the product. Something about it is poorly considered because they just really weren't concerned when they were designing it.
Well, a copy is never perfect.
Well, and they didn't know the initial intent anyways. Right. So they don't know why they did what they did. They're just copying the looks and such.
Yeah, right.
So.
Right.
And
Close
so
enough.
that to me is usually one of my more frustrating things. When I see something that I would consider to be poorly designed, poorly implemented, and unfortunately sometimes it's because of cost. It costs more to do this different thing. But a lot of times it doesn't.
Let's look at something like something I could think of that's really hard for me to choose, I know, would be like a network switch for the house. I look at those and I'm like, you get them for like $10.
Yeah,
right?
what's the difference?
And you get them for a couple $1,000s if you get into the better network. Yeah, and they all seem to do the same thing.
Right.
But at what point does it fall apart? At what price point do you need to get to before it doesn't fall apart, I should say? And it's a very confusing market to me. You know what I mean? It's
that
really
is actually
weird.
A pretty reasonable example because you could buy a $6 network switch, and I have. The cheap ones, they work.
Yeah.
Never had a single problem with a network switch.
Right. But how good are they working? You're always questioning that.
But it's working.
Yeah.
So that's a strange
it a limiting
thing.
factor in the system?
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know.
I wouldn't buy one of those to implement in some sort of severe duty situation or in business or whatever. I would get the $40 one, right? The one that looks okay. It doesn't look like garbage.
It's funny, within that range, it's hard. There's almost nothing to choose from. You either have stupid cheap or stupid expensive.
Well, I think it comes down to the other thing I was thinking when choosing a product is reputation, right? Brand reputation. So, you're like, well, Cisco or whatever. Yeah, I've never had a problem with one, so I don't care. I'm just going to go with one of those, right?
Yeah, and I think it's true. In that sense, brand can matter, which is another factor we didn't bring up yet, other than price and looks and upfront appearances. Brands do matter. Long-term brands, they tend to have it down.
Well, it's pretty much what I was going for. Usually, when you see a company that's been doing it a while, these considerations are already thought through. Usually the issues are already resolved, and you hope that they put enough effort into it and paid attention to customer feedback to mitigate these things going forward. And oftentimes you see that. You see a shift towards the general hive mind mentality, what people are looking for in a product, but not always. And certainly in startups, new companies, and knockoffs especially, they're not quite there. They inevitably have faults that are never attended to. So to some extent, there is some value in buying a name brand. If you're buying cereal even, a lot of times the name brand one is a little bit better. And if you don't want to consider it, sometimes they're the same thing, but it may not be worth your time to think through, is this value proposition worth it to me? Is it worth it to save a buck? And run the risk of it not being what I want.
Well, especially with food, you're dealing with the quality of ingredients. Mm-hmm. And I mean, typically you get what you pay for. Cheaper flours, cheaper this, cheaper that. And the overall thing, just overall taste is going to be not as good.
Well, I think like from a brand perspective, it's more of they all have their own like design ethos. They have like a way of doing stuff. They've been doing it for 50 years like that. So you kind of know what you're getting into. You know how they do things. For good or for bad, really.
Right.
So you kind of like pick your team because you like how they do a specific thing. It could be something as simple as styling or anything like that, or how they build things. But they're usually consistent.
Yeah, I think
for a long
cars are
period
like
of time.
that too. When you think
Yeah.
about picking an automobile, which is a much more complicated device, but it's true. I mean, people tend to have their favorite manufacturers, and not that there's a ton to choose from, but you tend to have your favorites depending on who you are and how you drive, and et cetera, et cetera. You know, like a lot of people I talk to, well, if you're going to get a sports car, they're probably going to get a Porsche. It's in that range where most people can afford them. I'm a correction. Most people who are in that price range can afford them. It's not a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. You're not going into the
It's mostly attainable.
$1 million
yeah.
car range and up. But yeah, it's something that most people can at least lease it and not. It's not going to kill them. So it's a good middle ground for an upper end sports car type thing versus a fast Prius, right?
Well, a lot of the reasons why people choose something like that, a luxury German make, is because of how it's designed. It's because of the brand, basically. That's usually what most people are looking for. They may not know anything specific about this device or this car, or this phone, whatever, but they know this brand historically has done things that I agree with. And so they choose it into the future. You see that all the time with iPhones. People continue to buy iPhones because, well, I like the last one, or it worked fine for me, or it did this or that, and so I'll just buy this one. They don't think about it.
Well, and you know what to expect. It's not going to be like radically different.
You know how
than
to
the one
use
you
it
buy-
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not another learning curve involved with it, so that helps too.
There's something to be said for
You're
that.
comfortable
no
with
doubt.
it. Yeah, and there's another reason why people stick to certain brands is because they are comfortable with it.
Yeah, it's a big portion of it.
Yeah, it's worked for them. And there's nothing wrong. That's perfect.
There's no doubt I do that too.
Yeah, me too.
There's plenty of things I don't really care about that much. I see that thing, it looks fine, the price looks fine, it's got good reviews, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I don't think about it past that, right?
Yep.
But depends on what you're looking for. Some people are really particular. They want to know they have the best of the best. And then that's where things get difficult. If you
You've been
want to
rock-
know you have the best.
You've been
oof.
rocking through steaks for a while now because you like cooking meat, so to speak, smoker and stuff, and they're all different, right?
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how much beef varies when you're not throwing like half a bottle of A1 on it.
Well,
or
yeah,
something.
that's the thing.
You're tasting the meat.
Yeah. It's the quality of what cut you get, and how you cook it,
Yeah.
So,
Bottom line is that we're highly subjective creatures, and so we're going to choose what we're going to choose. The hell with everybody what anyone else says, and that's really what it boils down to. I think most of the time you're going to pick for whatever reasons, right or wrong. Don't listen to an expert. Do what you want to do. That's okay, because in the end, right, whether it's right or wrong, you learn from it. You learn from your choices you make in life. That's just the way it works. You learn from it, and you grow with those choices. So it's good to be an individual. It's good to be able to be an individual. Be able to have we're lucky to have all the choices we have in audio nowadays. It's cool, it could take you in all kinds of tangents.
for good or for bad, right?
Yeah, good or bad. Yeah. So, bottom line is you shouldn't be fearful of making the wrong decision. And I see that a lot where people, they freeze, they don't buy because they don't know what to do. And you reach a point where you just got to pull the trigger.
I know I've done it many times.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in your car for 6 months, it's like, can't do it though.
Yeah. Yeah. On a higher price item, it's
Yeah,
a problem.
right.
You need enough convincing from enough people, or you got to get enough feedback that meshes with what you're looking for. I get all that, but at some point you probably need to move on. Or if you're good with the status quo, maybe you never have to move on. Just stay where you are. Good too.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, thank you everybody for watching. Please subscribe to us. Click subscribe so you know what's coming up next. We're always talking about good stuff. And take care of yourselves.